Mm-hmm.
Hello to all you lawbreakers out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 225 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, the number one crime serial podcast in Canada. We're recording on May 4th, 2020.
I'm Gavin, still essential, but spending my off day still tending to my Boogaloo herb garden. That's all I can do right now.
I'm Benny. I'm an Orthodox Jew, an essential worker, and no longer a recreational shooter.
Dave, competitive shooter, match director, firearms instructor, and outdoorsman.
He's not here. I guess that makes that me. I'm Alan, generalized safety nerd, varying capacity of essential worker, and overall disgruntled Canadian.
Marty, hunter and sports shooter in rural southern Ontario.
I don't know why I got moved in the list. As always, my name is Andrew. I'm your host. I used to be a competitive shooter. I used to be a firearms instructor, and now I'm just very, very angry. We need your feedback. No, wait, that's not true. We'd love to hear your feedback about the show. Please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email me directly, feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Get your questions in now because my work schedule is settled down. I should actually be able to get the show out on time, and we're going to be doing a feedback show later this week. So send me your feedback for me to discuss.
If you want to get more of Canadian Patriot Podcast, you can visit us at facebook.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast and Instagram at www.instagram.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast.
Sweet. Once you've done that, we need your help. To support the show, visit patreon.com/CPP and become a Patreon. You can get a better quality version of the show for just $1 an episode. The more you pledge, the better rewards are. So you can show you're not a communist and buy a CPP t-shirt for just $19.99 plus shipping and theft. Visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com, our homepage, and follow the link on the right. I also hear those t-shirts are quite good, by the way.
Yeah, and lawyers don't have, preferred rates, so.
Yeah, we're going to probably need a few of them.
Yeah. All right, let's do what are we drinking? We'll go around clockwise on my screen. We're going to start with Dave. Dave, what are you drinking?
Just Big Ultra tonight, keeping it light. I drank away most of my sorrows on Friday night.
Better Marty, what are you drinking? Why are you better Marty? Marty, what are you drinking?
I am drinking the Bush tonight.
What happened to the not
Yeah, you are.
Marty?
I'm afraid. Gavin, what are you drinking?
Yeah, I'm drinking Jack and Coke Zero this evening because I needed something strong to. Yeah.
What ratio is that mixed at? A lot of Jack and a little Coke?
What are you, my mother?
I mean,
I don't know.
Allegedly.
It's like a liter-ish, whatever. It's my regular mix, which is strong, maybe stronger today than normal.
Well, I wondered if it was stronger or not. Alan,
it's
what
as
are you
strong
drinking?
as my contempt for Trudeau. How's that?
That's very strong.
I killed a couple of Bush myself, and I'm drinking some 40 Creek Copper Pot. I decided to skip the mix because, well, fuck it.
Fair comment.
Yeah.
I support this.
And I'm consuming Corona again.
You're what's wrong with society right now.
It was on sale at Metro.
Well, the virus is not what's the beer is not what's wrong with society. It's the speaking moistly as a result. I'm drinking the not official beer. It's the Coors Original, and it's not the same, and I don't like it.
Not the same as what? The original,
Coors
the actual
Banquet.
original Coors?
Yeah.
Like the official beer,
Yeah.
the Banquet, the original.
Yeah. So like the original version of like a luau, a banquet.
Yes, exactly. Also, we're going to acknowledge all of our listeners on. So the 12 of you that normally tune in every week, hello, good evening, Todd, RY, Evan, all of our normal people. I thought I saw the Albertan was on. I thought I saw Muskoka Man was on. Also, for our 5 members of the various intelligence services, welcome to the show.
Yes.
So if you work for CSIS or the RCMP, I mean, sorry, you're probably going to have somebody clean up around all your desk from the freedom loads you're about to expose or expel.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, listenership is up. That's a good thing, except it's probably all the government listening to us. So
Whatever. It's metrics, baby. Metrics. And we've got the best metrics.
That's it.
Everybody knows this. They're
Change
huge.
the system from within.
Yeah.
All the pod carts are mad jealous.
Yeah.
all right, let's do the news. The only thing in the news that matters this week to us, they banned all the good guns.
Yep.
They even banned some not so good guns, and also javelin missile launchers and mortars, and a BB gun.
And website?
Okay,
Your websites.
we should talk about
everyone
the
be
website.
making
then.
that comment.
That's not
Yeah.
factually accurate. Okay, so the background for everybody out there in podcast land that's not aware of what happened on the International Communist holiday, May the 1st, the most fearless of shiny ponies released an order in council called Regulations Amending the Regulations Prescribing Certain Firearms and Other Weapons, Components, and Parts of Weapons, Accessories, Cartridge Magazines, Ammunition, and Projectiles as Prohibited, Restricted, or Non-Restricted, SOR/2020-96. From here on out, we're just going to refer to this as the Order in Council.
Or the steaming turd.
No, that's
But
the
we need to differentiate that between the person who issued it and the ordinance.
precisely. Alan is on the same wavelength.
These two photos are the same.
CSIS needs you to find the difference. They're the same photo.
Yeah.
So, the governor in council has issued an order in council saying that it is their opinion that the items prescribed in the order in council are prohibited firearms or prohibited devices in the annex regulations, which is the rest of the thing in the Gazette, that have no reasonable use in Canada for hunting or sporting purposes, and they are therefore prohibited. There are approximately, not exactly, 1,500 firearms and firearm type devices that have been prohibited by name as a result of this order in council. Let's talk about the 950 variants of the AR-15.
Is that it?
Yeah, so out of the 1,500 items, just under 1,000 of them are different ARs and AR manufacturers and various and assorted models. So, like, Colt shows up on the list like 20 times.
Yeah. So basically, if you own any flavor of AR or AR-10, it's on the list.
It's on the list.
If it looks bad and scary, or it has black plastic furniture.
Yeah.
Wait, they only
In
did that by
effect.
name?
Yes, they did it by name.
So
Yeah,
what happens if one of your ARs isn't on the list? I know
Well, they have
mine's
a-
not,
they
one
have-
of mine's not on there.
They have a catch-all for that.
Yeah, it's
Oh.
just any variant basically at the top,
The
right?
firearms of the designs commonly known as the M16, AR-10, AR-15, and M4. And then they provide 950 examples of what those might
Yeah.
be, in case you were confused about what they might be.
Yeah.
So the
Including
very
but not
first
limited to.
so the very first sentence is already bullshit. Because I mean the M16 and M4
I mean, they are.
machine guns and have been prohibited
is
forever, like since
since
the
before
70s.
we were born. Yeah, since before we were
Yes.
born.
But idiots colloquially call them.
Liberals.
Politicians.
Yeah, idiots. You heard me. Idiots call the AR-15 an M16 and an M4 and everything else. And I mean, the M4 and the M16 are variants of the AR-15, I guess, because they adopted it from that platform. So, like, it's not a total lie. I mean, the whole OIC is a total lie, but that part inside it is not, per se. There's a few weird things in it, though.
There are a lot of weird things in this. So on the topic of the thing that everybody on the internet keeps getting wrong, the ARFCOM AR-15,
Yeah.
AR-15.com, the website AR-15.com made an AR-15 lower receiver.
Oh.
So there really is an AR-15.com lower receiver, but I mean that is a very minor technicality in all of this.
Awkward.
But yeah. Basically what I'm saying is you're wrong for saying that the Liberals banned a website.
Yeah.
The Liberals would like to ban a website,
Yeah.
which is a totally different but similar thing.
Yeah, they haven't figured out how to do that just yet, especially one that's in the U.S.
I was wondering why that one sort of fizzled out and the Javelin one started showing up.
Well, there's some other stuff on there.
And
Well,
the,
let's do the big stuff for anybody that hasn't been on the internet lately and seen this. So, the Swiss Arms rifles, anything that's a derivative or a flavor of the SG 550 or SG 551. So the classic green, the blue special, the red whatever, the like all of the Swiss Arms rifles.
All of the same gun, just in different colors. Yeah.
Andrew Darcy on the YouTube makes a good point. The Blackwater BW-15 that everyone's claiming is airsoft. Yes, the BW-15 was also actually made by Blackwater as a marked lower receiver at one point. So this is true. For the mailman in New Brunswick, is it true that banned firearms are only found in video games? No, I would say that these guns are also found in real life.
Yes, and if they were found in video games, like something like the P90 and the MP5 and everything would have been added to the list as well. Because
I think the MP5 was already on the list.
But so was the M16 and the M4. So
that's a good point. They do like to be redundant.
Yeah. I mean,
I think the implementation or the I think kind of what he's implying here is that they chose guns based on video games, but there's a lot of guns in here that are definitely not featured in video games. So
I
think that's
the Mini 14. Yeah. If you have a video game with the Mini 14 in it, I'm very sorry for you.
If Mr. T is not a playable character in that game, I don't even want to.
It's the golden gun you get when you get headshots with every gun in every class.
Yeah.
It's the Mini 14.
That does not seem accurate.
Can I just the fact that we had to cover these things? It's a little bit frustrating to me because there's so much ridiculousness in this order in council. Like we don't need to be making shit up.
Yeah.
But since when has that ever stopped the Liberals?
But I mean, wouldn't that not be, if they're making shit up, would it not be grounds for us to be able to throw this out?
Right. So let's look at the things that they are making shit up on. Let's not try to pin them at let's not try to say they're banning airsoft guns, they're banning websites and stuff that's not true, because that only discredits our arguments against this.
Yeah.
So
we want to make sure that
I'm really happy that I brought that up because I did not know that what they meant was the lower that was manufactured by AR15.com. So I think it was good for us to have done that because there are other people I know who would have looked at that and said, "Hey, look, they're idiots."
Sorry, but I didn't mean to. I mean, I guess I kind of did, but I didn't mean to call you out specific on that.
No.
I've seen that argument posted multiple places.
So
basically, people need to. It's a good idea that we brought it up because now I know
people don't know.
Yeah, people don't know that they didn't ban a website. It really is a lower that they banned.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I learned that in the last 45 seconds.
I was today years old. Is that still a thing? Do people still post those?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, okay.
So I think it's a good.
And you were today years old when you learned that.
It's a value that we brought it up then, I think, because it gets rid of us from meeting other people and saying, "Hey, look, they banned the website," which apparently they didn't, and it would be a really crappy argument if it hadn't done that. So
I think that's the thing is we should not be focusing on the specifics of the law, but I would like to get through the rest of the list at some point because the problem is how they pass the law and what is in the law. And also I'm probably at this point going to stop referring to as a law because it really is not. This is not a legislative action. This is a regulation. So how they pass this I think is the problem, not what they passed necessarily. I'm more concerned about the lack of due process than the specific content of what they've done.
I think that's a really good thing to be upset about.
Well, I think that's the only thing worth being upset about. Let's rattle off the rest of the things that they got. The Beretta CX4 Storm carbine, or any variation thereof, of which they did not name any variations. Which is
that's because it's a terrible gun, so there's only one version of it.
They don't even make a restricted, non-restricted version?
No.
No.
Just one. I mean, it's a pistol caliber carbine that uses Beretta mags. It's not very good.
There's also the SEG MCX MCR pistol rifles. So the 10 of those or whatever that were in the country. Any firearm with a bore diameter of 20 millimeters or greater.
That's a big bore.
Yes,
Yeah.
and so this is where a lot of the fun nonsense things came in, like rocket launchers and mortars, and I think there was an artillery piece listed, and anti-tank rifles and recoilless rifles. This is where a lot of the nonsense stuff that they prohibited is, because I don't know that there's a lot of people that have anti-tank recoilless rifles in their collection, but this is also where they included flare launchers is part of this list. 37 millimeter LMT flare launcher is where this is.
Yeah, but I mean, even the 26 mil flare launcher pistols that are surplus Polish pistols and stuff like that, of which there is no, pistol round for that. It's a big ass friggin' tube, and there's flares for it and smoke for it and stuff like that, but there's no, real projectiles for it. And if they are, I mean, because I know the 37 and the 40 mil were things that legally in this country you could buy as a civilian, and they were not. I mean, the 37 at least was not even a firearm; it's an unregulated device. But yeah, the explosive rounds and things like that were heavily controlled. But a flare or a smoke round, whatever, right? No big deal. But yeah, so you got
What
people
What shocked me about this was the Liberals banning faggots.
Yes, there is one on there.
That does seem to go against a lot of their policy thus far.
Yeah.
But there it is. I mean, right in the list, the 9K111 faggot is now banned.
Yeah, it is for having a bore diameter over 20 millimeters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, stupid
No,
question,
I'm-
guys, but aren't
It's
most
weird.
muzzleloaders
What's
at
What's the name of
model
that
20 mil?
firearm? The 9K what?
9K111 faggot.
11.
It's a rear bore, yeah.
Whatever it is,
Yeah.
it's over 20 millimeters.
Gotcha.
Aren't most muzzleloaders over 20 mil though? They're
I would say no. 50
They're usually
caliber.
50 cal. Yeah.
Yeah, 50 is not, but 10 gauge
45.
shotguns and lower are. So there's a few shotguns on there that if guys have really old antique shotguns that are covered by it. I believe there's a few reenactment.
Well, 10 gauges are not that uncommon.
Yeah, but some of the older 4, 6, or 8 or whatever are kind of weird and uncommon. But those have been prohibited now because they're over 20. There's some reenactment artillery pieces that are now considered prohibited when previously you probably didn't even need a license for them because they're old school cannons. And some of these people bought those surplus flare pistols that you didn't need a license at all for, and now they have a prohibited device. And if they're not gun people, they may not even be following this and realize that they have a prohibited device. They've just got their flare pistol for when they get lost in the woods.
But don't go in the woods and you don't need one of those anymore, right?
Well, yeah, I guess.
Just
can't go in-
suckle at
the
the
woods is
liberal tea
closed.
and everything will be fine.
Yeah, the woods is closed right now. Yeah. So,
All the Ruger Mini 14 variants also got banned, as well as the full-size M14. This includes your Norinco M305s and, every other variation on the M14.
yeah.
It also includes all the variations on the VZ58 series of rifles, including the CZ858, which previously were distinguished under, what was that, C71, where they distinguished them?
Where they were only going after the 858s from a particular batch. So there was even some 858s that were not affected by C71, unlike the Swiss Arms rifles where they were all affected. But now it's everything. So, I mean, if you read through the list and listened to them talking about it, the way they determined it, for the most part, was that if something was used in a mass shooting somewhere in North America, mostly in the U.S., that's how it made the list. And then there was the SIG, and then the other one that we haven't mentioned yet, the Scorpion,
Yeah,
that
the
have not
Scorpion
been
Evo.
have not been used in any shootings.
Well, it wasn't. Wasn't it in that one movie where a whole bunch of people died, and so somebody might get the idea that it could be used for bad things.
Well, I guess, and like it's called the Scorpion, which is kind of like dangerous. So,
well, that's scary.
The thing is,
terrified all of a sudden.
Yeah.
The premise for how the premise of the Order in Council though was not that. It was not that these had been used for shooting somewhere in the world. It was that these guns were not suitable for sporting or hunting purposes.
Yeah, and we're
That
only
was the
designed for one
which
thing.
is Order in Council.
But
And
they're
there is two arguments against this Order in Council right now that I'm sure that the orgs are exploring from a legal challenge. And one is, if these are not suitable for hunting purposes in this order, they have also provided a hunting exemption for First Nations.
Yeah.
The second
but I
thing
can take
is
down a squirrel
if
and
they
a
are,
rabbit with a 223, right?
So the second thing is
with
if they are not suitable for sporting purposes, they've been issuing ATTs for sporting purposes for these rifles for the last 30 years.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the two flaws. I mean, the two obvious legal flaws that have been pointed out from the Order in Council that hopefully is an avenue that they can that we can look at to challenge this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you can't say these are only designed for killing the most amount of people in the shortest amount of time, and that they're not for hunting or sporting purposes, and they serve no place in Canada at all, and then provide the accommodation for certain groups of people to continue to use them to go hunting.
So, this may sound ignorant of me, but who cares? Like, do they care?
Yep.
Like, so what that they said in the OIC that it's not suitable for hunting or sport shooting? That's the excuse they gave the public. Does it make a difference if that's not reality? Does that change anything? Do we actually have any legal standing to negate this Order in Council?
So that is a question for better counsel than me, Benny. You're right in that ultimately pretty well any judge in this country is going to side with the Liberals in no matter what they do, because that's the current political situation in our country. But that doesn't mean that it's not in terms of actual like legality, and it is an avenue that we could potentially fight this down and bring this to courts. And then the question is, could you actually find a judge in this country that would be willing to side with gun owners? Probably not.
Well, although you may find one that at least is neither pro nor anti-gun and is about upholding the law as it's written.
And that judge will never be the judge that's selected to hear this.
Likely, yeah.
But, I mean, if I'm understanding Benny's question correctly, if it's being exempted for hunting for one group of people, would that not give us a standing for it to be exempted, for it to be considered a legitimate hunting firearm for all of us?
Yes, and that is exactly the avenue that has been mentioned.
Right, that's been mentioned. And my point is, do they care? No.
I don't think it matters if they care or not. I think it's a matter of if we can generate enough public outcry to get them to reverse some or all of this.
Yeah, if they
because
leave
some of these.
Yeah, if they open that up to go, okay, fine, you're correct in that your human rights have been violated because we've discriminated against you because of your race, which is what the sort of challenge on this one is. Then at least then you could keep your Swiss Arms or your 858 and continue to go hunting with it.
Yeah. I think it comes down to, and I'm trying to pull it up as we're speaking right now, but I think it comes down to the verbiage in C-71, Benny, because it is through the groundwork that was laid via C-71 that they were able to do this Order in Council. But I believe that there is verbiage in the Order in Council that the reclassification of firearms can't be applied to a valid hunting or sporting rifle.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? Okay. I thought they were doing
If
this
it's-
under the original Firearms Act. I thought they left provisions for them to do this via AOC, whatever.
So in the Firearms Act from '95, there is that possibility. There is also that it is in the opinion of the governor in council, and I imagine Marty's probably going to read the specific language.
I can just, I have it right here. I can read it. That line specifically. So in the opinion of the governor, so essentially, in terms of doing they may not prescribe anything to be a prohibited weapon, prohibited firearm, restricted firearm, prohibited weapon, restricted weapon, prohibited device, or prohibited ammunition if, in the opinion of the governor and council, the thing to be prescribed is reasonable for use in Canada for hunting or sporting purposes. So they do not have the right to reclassify a firearm if it is reasonable to be used for hunting or sporting purposes.
And given
so they have been issuing ATTs for decades to use it for sporting, and they have put an exception even in this to continue to use it for hunting.
Yep. So,
so you can make the argument that they are both reasonably hunting and sporting firearms.
The problem is I don't think we'll win a legal challenge against the government to do that, and the government is going to use my tax dollars to fund way better lawyers than I can afford.
Yeah, so we'll be paying double because we're paying the lawyers to fight it and paying the lawyers to fight it on the other side.
Yeah, and the judges and the entire court staff and
are all on the government's dime and paid for by them. So it's.
That being said, the more we can rack up the bill on this, probably the better.
Yeah.
The more costly this can appear. And that's kind of the one thing that the general public will look at. That was kind of the one thing that got the general public on our side to scrap the long gun registry. Wasn't the injustice to firearms owners. It was that it was expensive.
Yeah.
It was expensive.
If we can
and
make
they couldn't
this
prove that it did anything, and I think that's the same.
Nobody cared about that. They
true.
cared
Nobody
about it.
Yeah.
Anybody I've talked with, including within my own household, who doesn't shoot, doesn't give a flying fuck about these particular guns. They care about how much is this actually going to cost.
Right, and I think they would be fine if it cost billions of dollars and they could justifiably say, like, it saves lives. Like, that'd be different. They wouldn't matter. The dollar figure wouldn't matter. I think it's because it is ineffective and we can show them that the government is just throwing money away.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and there's lots of examples that we can, like, I'm not going to name names of other firearms that, like, if you're going to do this should be on the list because we don't need that now.
Let's not give them any ideas.
But
not giving them ideas about a lot of firearms. I do have a question. I find it suspicious that no Israeli weapons industry's firearms made this list. None at all.
Yeah. The Gilboa snake didn't make the list.
Oh, there you go.
That's Israeli.
Oh, okay. So
it's not Israeli weapons industries, but it is Israeli.
Yeah.
I only care about Israeli guns that come from IWI.
Yeah, the rest of them aren't very good.
Or too expensive. Bull 1911s apparently are really good, just they're way out of my price range.
Yeah.
So I do find that I'm not going to name names about other firearms or other companies whose social media has recently gone radio silent.
But what are they? The biggest thing I want to know is, like, when the shootings continue in certain urban centers, throughout the summer, especially as we start lifting
as
lockdowns.
we get into chimp out season.
Yeah, and lockdowns start getting lifted. More people are going to be moving around, and drug flow is going to pick back up again for all the partying, and the shootings continue. But it's going to be like, well, we're all prohibited. All our guns are sitting in the safe. So what's the problem? Why are these keep happening? And then
because they haven't banned enough guns.
Yeah,
that's where the handgun ban comes in.
Long gun, anyways.
Yeah.
We need to ban handguns to stop urban youths from shooting one another over their marijuana trade.
Which is the next piece of legislation that's sort of speculated to come out, is Trudeau fast-tracking this allowing of municipalities to ban handguns in their municipalities.
Which makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah.
Impossible.
I mean...
Hey, sir, you just killed that man, but you have a handgun, so we're going to give you this ticket, and you're going to go speak to that federal judge about murdering someone.
So what are they, like, I mean, I have no doubt that my mayor will be all for this because she's already on record saying that she wants to ban illegal handguns because too many criminals have them.
Wait, you want to ban something that's already illegal?
I actually support that. Criminals should not have illegal handguns. This makes sense.
That makes good sense.
So, I mean...
I could run a large urban center.
Like, are municipalities going to have access to, the RPAL list to see who owns these things?
Oh, well, that'll be fun. That's a privacy violation, and that we can definitely take them to court over.
So then how are they going to know who does and doesn't have these?
Well, nobody has illegal handguns.
Well, no, but even if they ban, if they ban, handguns in general,
it'll be New Zealand all over again.
Then, if they give out the RPAL list to the municipalities that say we don't want handguns here, that's a violation. But then, how are they going to know otherwise? So, as long as I don't get caught with it on me on my way to the range, how would they even
Maybe that's all it is, and even then, if it's a municipal issue, it's a bylaw. So the worst they can do is fine you?
Give me a $50 ticket.
Well, I mean, it can be a little bit more than that, depending on what kind of a bylaw infraction it is, and whether it's a summons or this or that. But
they can't criminally charge you for a bylaw. That's the thing. It's just a fine.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
Look at them ideas.
But I mean,
it's something ridiculous.
That is immensely more fightable.
Absolutely.
In illegals, it is going to be way easier to tie up your local municipality to not pay their fine than it is to take the government to court over an order in council.
Yeah.
Between that and that, we could have court battles coming out there wazoo.
Right, and that's the thing. I think we do need to have court battles coming out the wazoo because the more that we tie this up, and the more that it costs money, and the more that it is ineffectual.
Exactly.
Well, yeah. The more that it shows that it's just, having otherwise law-abiding, good citizens going through this process for no reason other than they own particular items of private property, the better. I mean, it's going to cost a fortune. It's going to make everybody, that's for this look bad.
Hey, does anybody have the stats on hand? How many shootings were there last year, 2019?
Not handy, but I'm sure somebody can intern it while I complain.
Yeah.
I mean, across Canada, or do you just want Toronto?
In terms of
just across Canada. I mean, across Canada, outside Toronto would be the perfect number to have.
Yeah.
I bet it's about
compare and contrast.
Yeah. But and then based on that, we just you're trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist. Is the real thing here.
But it sounds good. It makes a good soundbite because nobody, and I totally support this. I don't want criminals to have illegal firearms.
I agree.
Makes sense. Criminals shouldn't have illegal firearms.
It's a good thing that we've already made it illegal for criminals to have firearms.
Right, and that's the thing is it's
your
the
average liberal doesn't
understand
that though.
The best
they wrote the damn law.
Not even your average liberal. Your average voter doesn't understand.
That's who I'm referring to technically. I mean,
I have the data for 2018.
Yeah, I was going to say
there was 249 firearms deaths. Number of size 249, of which 56 were rifle or shotgun.
Okay.
And
there was two fully automatics.
Sorry, Marty, you're looking. Where are you getting your info from? Because I'm looking at StatsCan right now. Number of homicide victims in 2018.
I'm not looking at number of homicides. I'm looking at firearm homicides.
Oh, okay. Homicides does that also include suicides?
I hope not.
Probably.
No. Yeah. Well, I guess it depends on how they classify it, but yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to look. I'd have to dig into this. This is a quick intern job here, so I have to look at it closer. But yes, it's total firearm.
You get what you pay for.
Related homicides was 249, of which 56 were rifle or shotgun.
Okay,
now,
I mean,
how that breaks down, I don't know.
We'll probably never know if any of the guns on the list were actually used in any of those crimes, and it's truly unfortunate that anybody gets shot. I mean, we don't wish harm on anyone, but we're talking about literally a non-problem when it comes to all the things that we could be solving.
Yeah, well, here, so I've got so in Canada in 2018 there were 651 homicides in general.
Okay.
142 of them happened in Toronto.
So I think you could just call that a weekend if it were in Chicago.
Yeah. I mean, the only other region that had more than that was non-census metropolitan area. So
So literally all of rural Canada.
So luckily, this whole question about what the issue of firearms and crime in Canada, what that issue was, came up to Doug Ford this week. So he had an excellent answer. Let's listen to that.
The problem is there is no border around Toronto, around the GTA. And
I've been saying that for years on this show. Build a wall, make the lake
not
bigger.
wrong, We could really solve a lot of our crime issues here.
Dougie knows what's up.
With the,
Yeah.
Actually, Dougie knows what's up on a couple accounts. Global news article in the show notes for that. Ford takes aim at Trudeau's gun control. Doug Ford takes aim at Trudeau's government's gun control measures, and he's saying things like we should put the $600 million that this is expected to cost towards things like border security and stopping illegal guns from being smuggled into the country.
No way.
That would be amazing.
Or maybe
that sounds hard.
Yeah.
Strengthening bail conditions and jail sentences for criminals and gang members who commit gun crimes.
Another thing that might actually stop people from shooting each other.
Right? I am totally on board with the Doug Ford plan. Like, let's use this money to target criminals.
Build a border around the GTA.
Also flood the GTA.
Build the wall.
Make the lake a little bigger. Make the lake a little bigger.
We all love fishing here, I think, on the show.
That's
I mean,
right.
come on.
I mean, if you just I don't know, from Mississauga Road, Steeles to, I don't know, somewhere out past Oshawa, because that whole side of the city is terrible.
Yeah, we need to get the dirty schwa. Just fill it right up. Fill it right up.
So just make the lake a little bigger.
Everyone's complaining the lake levels are too high as it is. It's just
let's just put a big crater there and even it out a little bit.
Exactly.
Just redistribute it a little.
What?
They are probably on board with that. Redistributing the wealth.
Redistribution would be a good way to sell that to that particular segment.
The wall costs what, like $1 million, $2 million, and then we got like $598 million to do all kinds of other stuff.
$1 million
strengthen
too.
border
Come on.
security and stop illegal guns from coming in.
It's going to take the government way more money than that to
this
build a
wall. Yeah, I want this wall to be high and strong.
It's true, and it's going to take at least 15 to 20 years to build.
Yeah, I mean, look at the 401. That's just a flat piece of asphalt.
That Ontario extension has been going on since what, 2008, 2009?
Yeah, but if
So
you
what you're
keep doing
saying
it wrong, I mean,
we need a good infrastructure project to get this economy back going again. That's what I'm hearing.
That's what I'm hearing. Yep. No, 100%. Nail on the head right there.
The real thing, though, is can we get Toronto to pay for it?
We could definitely talk them into it. They've got like the IQ of like a gnat. We could totally talk them into it.
I think that it's more of a cost benefit thing. What would it cost us to build the wall versus continue to give money to Toronto?
It's kind of like that. If we buy a helicopter and helicopter fuel and we start throwing commies out, that eventually it pays for itself.
Yeah, it's kind of like that.
All right.
Eventually.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be so fun though. Is it really costing anything at that point?
At that point, you're just paying.
Well, I feel like if you get enough donors, it doesn't cost anything. That's how startups
Yeah.
isn't it?
Maybe the real helicopter fuel is the friends we make along the way.
Yeah.
I bet there's some people who donate to Ford that would donate to that fund as well.
100%.
Yeah.
So, border security. I mean, how can, practical measures? Let's give them some ideas here. Since they're listening, what can we do there to actually stop the flow of illegal guns into the country?
Well,
we could
one,
code Roxham Road for starters.
Yeah, get rid of Blair and put somebody that's actually going to do something about it.
Ooh, can we talk about getting rid of Blair? I like where Alan was going with this, but totally got sidetracked for a thing that I had later in the show notes. Today, I mean, so, May the 1st is like the International Communist Holiday, right? May Day?
Is it really?
Yeah. Yes, it really is.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I don't really
today is a
know
more
how
important
communist,
day. Yeah.
Well, today, I don't know, whatever day this was, I don't think this was on Friday. I think this was over the weekend. 4 Canadian firearms organizations came out on the same page about something, and then hell froze over, I guess.
It's not so surprising about 3 of the 4. It's that 4th one that's the most surprising.
So listen, guys, this is really good news. This means the Leafs have a chance to win this year.
And
I mean, no, because the NHL is still closed because COVID. But
well, that means they can't lose at this point.
Exactly.
But CCFR, so the Canadian Coalition for Firearms Rights, the Canadian Shooting Sports Association, the National Firearms Association, and the organization that represents gun stores and manufacturers, the Canadian Sporting Arms and Ammunition Association, all came out with a joint statement demanding the resignation of the Minister of Public Safety, one Mr. Bill Blair, former Toronto Chief of Police.
Blair's got to go.
I mean, if this was a crowd of people right now, which we can't do because like we're all under lockdown still, this would be like the slow clap moment where it's just like,
right? Like I never thought I never thought I would see the day where 3 major gun orgs would get together and agree on something, never mind 4 of them.
Yeah.
It's a worthy cause.
Yeah, absolutely. And like kudos to everyone that made this happen. I mean, it's huge, and it's about time that we had a unified voice, even if we, donate our money to a slightly different organization. But this is massive because we are our own worst enemy, and we've said that many, many times before on the show. And now if we could all just vote as a group too, that would be amazing. But this is that first step in that direction.
So I am shocked and impressed that everyone is able to get on the same page as what I can only assume was driven by the CCFR.
I think they were instrumental, although I believe it was the CSAAA that reached out to the NFA and helped sort of mend some burnt bridges.
I don't care if they mend their bridges or not. We just need to all be shouting in the same direction.
Agreed.
They can stay on their own side. As long as we're all shouting in the same direction. That's the
and shouting the same thing.
Yeah, and I think this is that step in that direction. And if we can all get along, it's so much better, right?
And we only need to get along a little tiny bit. Just the smallest amount of getting along.
Yeah, just not fighting each other. Right?
No, because there's way better things to fight in this ordering council. Because the ordering council shows that the government does not know the current firearms laws, or how they're implemented, or how firearms work. Because we're giving exemptions to natives to allow them to continue to hunt with these weapons until we're able to find them alternatives.
Well, and so the other thing that's kind of bothered me about the whole thing, aside from the whole, these are not for hunting, except if you need it to go hunting, you can still go hunting. They had this whole thing about this is feminism in action and all of this and that, and think of the vulnerable sectors of people like the missing Indigenous women, which we still haven't found, and if we haven't found them, we don't know if they've been murdered by a gun or not. So I don't know what this has to do with a gun ban, but there's this whole sector of people in Canada that are vulnerable, right? And they named LGBTQ plus whatever that whole acronym is now, and all these other women and all. And they say that, we need to protect them, and that's why we're getting rid of guns. So feminism in action apparently is taking away the rights and abilities of women to defend themselves in the manner that they see fit.
Yeah.
Because that's what I got out of the action that actually happened. Not the words they spoke, but you're telling a woman that she can't use an AR or an M14 or a Mini 14 or a 50 cal or whatever to defend herself. And a man is the one that made that decision and took that away from them. But we have to look after the vulnerable sector people.
But if you read the Gazette, they did a gender balance study. It's part of the Gazette.
If you are the kind of person who is willing or capable or even has it in their mind to think of defending yourself against a potential attacker, you're not.
I'm just curious, like, what the Pink Pistols of Toronto, which is a gay gun group, would think about this.
Right. But are they going to
did anyone consult them about this?
Doubt it. I'm
just curious. Right? And wasn't there like a gay group that wanted to rent Borden and do some thing through the ORA? I seem to recall that was a thing that was going to happen, but then like the COVID's hit.
Yeah. No, it was.
So let's briefly talk about the Nova Scotia shooting, or that style, that type of an event in Canada. And I think we can all agree something like that, where there's, at least they've been saying that there was some sort of level of planning and preparation that goes into it. An event, something like that, where someone is actually preparing and making a plan to commit an act like this. There's no law on the book that'll prevent it.
No.
Other than one. And that is the right to self-defense and the right to carry a tool that is, capable of stopping a situation like this.
Yeah.
The only thing that could stop that type of a situation is somebody having the right and ability to defend themselves appropriately against an attack.
Even
so if you want to talk about saving lives,
particular situation.
Exactly. But
he said even the police couldn't defend themselves in that situation.
Yeah.
I mean, they're busy shooting at each other.
And that's the thing. Like, it's not a guarantee, but that gives people the best option out there if they choose to take it.
Yeah, and you don't know
it is
how,
the only
how that
chance that any of those people had.
Yeah. Well, that and if they use the whole domestic violence is on the rise right now because of everybody being locked into their homes and all of that. And these guns are so dangerous, and we need to get them out. But if the guns are so dangerous,
why do I have a 2-year amnesty where I'm allowed to continue to possess these very dangerous, prohibited devices?
Exactly.
Is it because this was not a well?
Figure out who you are and where you are.
Well, they don't.
They should already have that list.
That's already on a list. Like I have an RPAL, and all of my restricted firearms are registered because I've jumped through every single hoop that the government has made me jump through to legally own property.
Yeah.
But you assume that they actually have that list in one spot. I think you're overestimating the competence of the federal government at this point.
You're right. I do expect them to have that in one spot, and I am probably overestimating the federal government. Having worked for the federal government in the past, what you're saying is an accurate statement. It's probably not.
I'm just curious, though, for people that are in my situation, where you have somebody living with you that also has an RPAL, and they also have items that are on this list. Who is more at risk? Like, am I more at risk, or is Angela more at risk? Or are we going to just shoot each other? I'm worried that I might have to wear my plates at all times because she's going to shoot me.
I mean,
she's a better shot than your plates are going to help you.
Yeah, probably for a justifiable reason, but I'm just saying.
I mean, your plates cover a very small portion of your vulnerable area, and she's a better shot. We all know this.
It's true. She beat me by 2 points at her first competition.
Well, and I mean, she's close. Once again, I mean, we're not taking into consideration the fact that most of these violent acts take place well within contact distance. Like this is as much a knife issue as it is a gun issue.
Yeah, I mean, more people are murdered by knives, so we should ban those too.
Well, don't start the liberals down that, because I'm afraid that they are.
Well,
we'll get our safety knife set.
Really, though, I'm most worried about. Yeah, I'm most worried about the cat though, because he's shifty as fuck.
I mean, that's fair.
Cats are awful.
Cat.
Yeah.
And no one trusts cats.
So Brent on YouTube is asking if human rights complaint would work. I don't know, but I do think it would be fun to tie up the tribunal system. So
ask away.
It's free to submit a human rights complaint.
Everyone should do so.
You might want to go
2 million complaints.
You might want to go fill one out. I mean, unless you're a native Canadian that owns firearms, in which case I'm not sure what you're going to fill it out for. But all of you other people that are not native Canadian, I feel like you have a strong chance of winning a human rights violation because you've been discriminated against based on your ancestry.
Do I actually have to show up?
Well, it doesn't matter. We're not getting.
Well, we're not going to getting some money from this.
We're not going to get asked to show up. We're not going to get the opportunity to actually argue this. But I do think it'd be funny to tie up the tribunal system for a while they sort through all of this.
So, having a little bit of experience with this, because I've had a thing through work that I was actually talking to my lawyer about today. At least in Alberta, from the time from when you file until it sort of comes to a head, is probably going to be somewhere in the 2.5 to 3 year mark. I imagine Ontario is probably busier.
You're probably right.
But
So you may have forgotten about filling it out by the time it actually comes to a thing. But I'm not saying don't do it because, I mean, yeah, there's no compliance like malicious compliance.
so
And
who are we
making
targeting?
things
Are we targeting Bill
ridiculous.
Blair or Trudeau himself or
The Canadian government.
I wrote down 3. There was 3 spots. I filled out all 3. I mean, it's free. Brent asked how long it takes on YouTube. I think I did mine in less than. I did mine faster than that, but I'm a good typer.
Yeah, there's a link somewhere that has all the stuff you need to type.
Yeah, check the show notes. I'll put a link in the show notes with instructions on how to file a human rights complaint. Put your human rights, like, the worst thing they do is say no. And again, I think it'd be funny to tie the system up because.
Is there such a thing as a class action human rights complaint?
I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but it
somehow?
sounds like a thing.
Yeah,
So
not yet, but there could be.
Well,
I don't
I
know.
mean, if like 2.5 million
You
of
don't
us
have
all of a sudden filed, wouldn't it make sense for them to organize it into one complaint, and then they wouldn't, they have to hear it once, and they wouldn't have an option but to hear it, right?
Maybe this would be a good time for us to contact Jessica Yana. She's probably got a lot of insight on how the whole human rights thing works.
well, I mean, that might be BC specific. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, it's worth reaching out to her to see.
Well, and
She's
this is the
expert.
thing. It's like, I feel like if we try to tie this up legally, at the very least, it ties it up legally and it constrains government resources. And
Yeah.
I think the best thing that we can do right now is make this as annoying and cumbersome for the government as possible within all of our various and assorted legal means.
Yeah.
It also tells the conservatives that we care.
Yeah.
That it actually does matter to their voters.
Yeah.
I disagree.
This is,
I disagree.
So, if they do it as a class action, they can also dismiss it with one case. They can dismiss all.
Yeah, I prefer
however millions
2.2 million separate ones, to be honest.
Yeah, but
Takes
if they,
longer.
once they
Well,
once
that's
they
2.2
dismiss,
million
like,
people, but that's
once they
not
dismiss, like, 10 of them,
including how
they've
many
got-
firearms you have.
yeah.
You'll get a notice from the RCMP for each firearm. You should be filing for a case individually per firearm that you have that is affected by this.
And I very much hope to do this because Section 71 of the Firearms Act, I think
I'm
is
trying
what
to
it
think
is.
of which section it is, but yeah,
I think-
there's a.
I think it's Section 71. Don't quote me on it. Somebody go and intern that later. But I believe that if you get the letter from the RCMP saying that one of your firearms has become prohibited, you have the opportunity to appeal it. Andrew on YouTube says it's Section 74.
But that's not if it becomes prohibited. It's if they revoke your registration certificate.
Right, but they're going to have to either issue me a registration certificate for a prohibited item or revoke the one I have.
Yeah.
So let's hope the government is as incompetent as I think they are.
Yeah. So yes, if it comes to that time 2 years from now when the amnesty ends and they revoke your certificate, then you can challenge them. But until that time, you can't.
Right, but that's fine. There's lots of other things that I can do to
Absolutely
be irritating until then. For example, I do this podcast live Monday nights at 9:00 where I complain about the government.
Yeah,
And-
and filing your human rights complaint is absolutely one of those things you can do.
Yeah, I will put the link to the show notes in that. I think that this is the time to make sure that all of your lawyers are in order and get all your paperwork sorted out and start.
Get your firearms legal defense fund started.
If you can hear me, this is the time. You should have already have been prepared for this, but if you have not, this is the time to start getting prepared for this.
Yes,
because we know we have a 2-year amnesty before anything has to happen. Because again, the brilliant people running our country put through a regulatory change that didn't have any legislative backing, so they don't know what to do now that they've made these guns prohibited, because they can't buy them back from us, and they can't take them away from us. So what are they going to do with them?
Yep. So I mean, the biggest problem with all of it, So I mean, for those that haven't really been following this or paying attention, I guess both the buyback and grandfathering are options that are included in this new piece of regulation, and they didn't really speak about the grandfathering during the whole address to the nation because, you know, that would have pissed everybody off and shown that they were sort of backing down from a total gun ban by allowing us to maintain them for longer than the 2-year amnesty period. But it will be an option. But both the buyback and grandfathering are things that need to be figured out in a bill that needs to pass through the parliamentary process and be voted upon, and, you know, had all the readings and all the changes and all of that stuff that any other bill has. So there's a chance that, like, it gets hung up. I mean, how long did it take them to push C-71 through?
Well, that was almost 2 years. That was over 2 years.
It's like 18 months.
And that was with the majority.
So it's possible that, like, you know, people are not on board with this because, you know, some of the other left-leaning parties may vote against this, or even some of the liberals may vote against this if they're that strong about it. Well, no, the whip will probably be out, but, you know, it's possible if, you know, the bill doesn't have enough teeth for these people that are super anti-gun and, you know, want us to have nothing and don't want to have grandfathering, which is obligated to be presented to us in this regulation, so they can't not include it, as far as I understand. So there's a lot of things that could draw this out. I mean, it's even possible that this goes beyond the 2-year amnesty, and then what happens?
Well, I imagine they delay it if they're still in power, and if they're not, it probably dies.
With any hope.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see.
It'd be unprecedented. We don't know what would happen in that case.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see what happens, because we're not supposed to have them after 2 years. But if they haven't,
I do think that there will be a lot of pressure on liberal MPs in certain years. Like I'm thinking a lot of the East Coast, which went liberal. There's going to be a lot of pressure on them to not support this. So there is going to be some backlash on this. I think it's up to us to make it as harsh as possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the meantime, try and figure out a path for the next election.
Yeah.
Well, and that brings up a great point, Marty. I feel like somebody read ahead in the show notes.
Is that in the show notes?
It was, or it is.
Okay.
Yeah. If you want to be able to vote for a leader in the Conservative Party, you need to get your Conservative Party membership in by the 14th of May. At the time of recording, today is the 4th of May, so you have about 10 days to get this done.
Do it online.
As we were doing the intro tonight, I did it.
It for 1 year, it's going to cost you $15. If you buy more years, it's going to cost you less per year, because opportunity cost is a thing. We talked about it before. The Conservative Party is the only party in Canada that it actually costs you money to join. Well, actually, I take that back. It might cost you money to join the Green Party, but I believe you get a discount if you're gay, trans, a student, an elder, or literally any other minority. One of the parties has that, where you get a discount for every
and you
Sounds
can
like
I'm going to call it
violation.
disability that you have.
Yeah.
How is that not like a violation of someone's human rights?
Well,
I don't know. I don't care either.
Fuck.
But you can self-identify, so it's fine.
So the Conservative
Party. There's all kinds of. I mean, look at minority-based hiring practices. There's all kinds of practices within this country that are discriminatory. But if it's in a certain
it's
direction,
only discriminating
totally
against
fine.
certain people who make up the majority of this panel.
Yeah, and just like if you don't you don't have to join whatever stupid party it is. So it doesn't matter that it's discriminatory. It's only discriminatory against the people that choose to join it. So if you don't want to, you just go, fuck you, I think that's discriminatory, and I don't give you my money.
Yeah,
but
it's your club, and I don't want in.
Yeah, your donation to the Conservative Party is something that you can put on your taxes too, because it's for a political party. Not that the $15 really helps all that much, but hey, put it on there anyways. Yeah,
every dollar helps.
Yeah.
Well, and that's if you have not already joined the Conservative Party and you are a firearms owner, I feel like you are wrong, because the Conservative Party is the only party that does not outright say they want to take your guns. I don't think they're particularly friendly to gun owners, but they're the only party that has not outright said they want to take your shit. fringe parties excluded. Libertarians, Tim Moen, the Christian Heritage Party. Sorry, you guys, you don't count. Get seats first, then you count.
Yeah, I mean, and same with Bernier and his party, which is a real heartbreaker. I know, but the only people that really have a chance at this election that we really need is the Conservative Party, and I hate saying that to a certain degree because
it's picking up the poop by the clean end.
Yeah,
that's like
or at least the least dirty end. Yeah,
here's a thin napkin.
Well, that's what I mean. Like you can't. There isn't a clean end. It's just like the least dirty part.
Yeah, it's the part that's more solid and dry.
Can we put links on your Facebook page? I guess we could use Facebook. We're really bad at social media. I really, really hate Facebook. I don't have Facebook on my phone or my tablet, so I have to log into it on a computer, and I really, really don't like Facebook because it spies on all my shit.
Check the podcast out at facebook.com/.
I know, but like,
or go to conservative.ca and look for it.
Yeah, I mean,
take ownership of this.
It is in the show.
It's really not hard.
It's on our website. Like I put it on our website.
If you have a preferred candidate, you could also join through their page.
And if you have a preferred candidate, let me know who that is because I think they're all shitty.
Yeah,
they're all kind of shitty, but they do track that in terms of which candidate brings in. It affects things internally in the party.
I wish O'Toole and McKay would spend more time talking about how they want to repeal this nonsense than they did about who had more people joining the party because of them versus the other one.
Yeah, I was in a town hall, like a Zoom town hall with Aaron O'Toole the other day.
Yeah,
he seems okay. Like he's well spoken, and he like is a stodgy old white man, so he like fits the necessary conservative check boxes. But man, he can't fucking answer a question.
Well,
yeah, and that's so at the last conservative leadership, O'Toole had a really strong firearms. I mean, he even came out and said that he would repeal C-68 as part of his platform. I mean, he was much stronger the last one, but like McKay has been, anti-firearms in occasion. So I definitely don't really want to see him in that position. So I think O'Toole is kind of our best bet.
Allow me to read the Albertans' comment on the YouTube. O'Toole, only because McKay has too much Harper baggage to win. Oh God, somebody else commented it moved.
Win over the liberal fence sitters. Fence sitters.
Face sitters, whatever.
I would like to rephrase that. O'Toole, only because McKay's eyes are too close together to be trustworthy. No, seriously, like have you seen Peter McKay? Like he looks creepy. Yes, so the Brent on YouTube
I would say
asked if O'Toole is ex-military. Go ahead, Marty.
Answer the question first. Yes, he's ex-military.
Yes, he went to RMC, and I think he flew helicopters. He's definitely some kind of an Air Force jock. I think he flew helicopters.
Yeah, sounds about right.
So now going back to this election, so the past conservative election, there were several of the candidates had pretty strong, pro firearms stances. This election, if you'll notice, they all have basically saying nothing about firearms. So they all kind of say, we respect firearms owners.
Yeah, and so they want status quo.
Like there's zero details about it. And I suspect that is very deliberate politically for the same reason Trudeau was able to do this order in council. I suspect that both political parties have done their research and they seen that the firearms bill is a winning issue. Like banning firearms and going anti-firearm is a winning issue for the Liberals. And unfortunately, it is a losing issue for the Conservatives. Because as firearms owners, we're fucked.
Yeah, pretty much.
Conservatives know they have our vote. So their only chance, like they're not going to risk upsetting potential voters to placate us. And unfortunately, that's where we're at right now. We're not a big enough voting bloc to be important to both sides, and we're guaranteed votes for the Conservatives. So they're not really taking a hard stance in our favor right now.
And this is what I was saying earlier when Alan said about like that this shows the conservatives, and I think that this doesn't show the conservatives. You know what shows the conservatives? It's dollars, donations, supporting the party politically. I think that's what shows the. So you want my vote? You make anti whatever this OIC statement thing is. You make statements against this OIC. You say you want firearms owners to vote for you. Not that you support firearms owners, that you want this repealed. You do that, you get money.
Yeah.
I think that's the only, but I mean, that also means that we have to like put up or shut up, and firearms owners tend to be cheap people. Speaking as someone who sells things to firearms owners, speaking as someone who runs matches that involves firearms, gun owners generally is cheap people.
Yes.
Well, yeah, we got to save all that money so we can buy guns. But with all the cool guns being banned, we've got nothing to spend the money on. That, and I mean, and I agree, like, you don't get the reward until you do the trick. But the problem is that they're going to need a certain amount of money. And it's been proven that if you pump enough money into the election, they will do better.
Yep.
So
yeah, like you don't get the reward until you do the trick, but you have to dangle the treat first.
Right? Mm-hmm. That's the thing. So we need to figure out, as firearms owners, I think, how to badger the conservatives into doing the thing that we want them to do, because they're the only party that is going to do it. Because no amount of money will make the Liberals do it, because it costs them too many votes. No amount of money will make the NDP do it, because it costs them too many votes.
Yep.
So
I'll say, and I'm in the same boat. I need to do it as well. Is get involved in your local EDA. That seems to be the best way to.
If you have a trick to getting involved in your local EDA, email the show, because I email my MP. I write letters to my MP on a monthly, if not weekly, basis. Some days are better than others. There have been weeks where he's gotten a letter from me every day because he's being a person who needs a letter every day. But
yeah, I did the same. Like, I mean, I tried to get more involved politically because, you know, that's kind of the thing to do these days. And I mean, it took me at least a year to hear anything back. And then, like, the only time that I would hear anything back was like kind of right up to the run up to this last election. And all they wanted me to do is basically volunteer for fundraising. It's like, no, I want to help. And I can do that, but like, I want to help dictate the local policy and talk to the people so that they know that this is a concern for me. Because I'm not going to go out there and do all the legwork for you and knock on people's doors asking for money until I know that you're going to support my cause. And it was always just, come to this meeting to learn how to fundraise. And that was like all my local electoral thing was doing. And it's like, bro.
The other thing is, I would say, is your local gun firearms ranges.
Yep.
So your local firearms ranges have historically, you know, I think we've all been involved with them. They're typically pretty fuddy.
Turbo fuddy. Turbo cucky in some cases.
Yeah.
So you need to find a way of getting them involved in this fight as well. I think that luckily there is a few things in here that are kind of odd enough that are, you know, like there's random, like a 308 bolt gun and stuff like that are included in here that you can start showing that they're coming after, you know, their guns as well, not just black rifles. Well, I think this announcement of the municipal handgun ban, I think, is going to be good for our cause, because that might shake up the sort of the older generation.
Yeah, especially the revolver, you know, and cowboy action guys that don't take too kindly to assault weapons and semi-auto handguns. Well, revolvers are going to be covered in that as well. You know,
that's my fear with the handguns. Is it's just going to be all handguns. They're not going to differentiate. It doesn't matter if it's a 22 or if it's a semi-auto or a revolver or a Thompson Center single shot. It don't matter. They're all getting banned.
Take them off.
Yeah, what matter? Like, who cares?
Yeah. Well, then, I mean, they're, you know, so, yeah, with the over 10,000 joule muzzle energy ridiculousness.
Any 50 caliber firearm.
But there's a few others.
Single shot rifles in there. There's a couple of big ones.
I suspect how they're going to do the handgun ban is do it as because they're not going to try to make municipalities determine which models and what they're just going to go restricted. It's going to be restricted, no restricted firearms.
Yeah, but I mean, like the 460 Weatherby or whatever is a firearm that isn't listed on that list because all they did when they said over 10,000 joules is basically look at the FRT tables for anything that's 50 cal and put those on the list. So like your Cadex and your Barretts and all of that are on there.
Also, what kind of weird country do we live in where we measure something in thousands of joules?
But like, there's a few other like big game cartridges that people use in Canada for things that are on that list, but they're not on that list, right? And like I said, with like that over 20 mil, like 10 gauge shotguns and a few other things that aren't listed on there because they didn't really think about it. But those are things that like people are going to own, and chances are the people that own them are a little bit fuddy and are going to think that, oh, that doesn't affect me. Don't have to worry about this, and they're the ones that are going to get caught.
Yeah, I'm really curious about that 10 gauge one because there's definitely guys that hunt ducks with a 10 gauge.
Yeah, I mean, if
seems unnecessary, but okay.
But if I've even heard
more of a novelty thing, but
I haven't confirmed this because like I'm not a like super crazy autiste when it comes to shotguns.
What?
But I have heard that there are a few high-end competitive 12 gauge shotguns that are even slightly greater than 20 mil. So
really,
because I know like 12 gauge is pretty close to like it's just under if you get like a standard 12 gauge, but I guess on the front end some of them are open more. I don't know. I've heard somebody say it. I haven't confirmed it one way or the other. But
that I'm gonna just throw that sounds suspicious. But
I don't disagree with you, but I've heard that batted around. So I mean, like I said, I'm not a super shotgun guy, especially when it comes to really high end trap guns that are like 40, 50 grand. But 10 gauge and some of the other ones that are certainly out there and maybe less common are on the list, but they're not on the list. And those are definitely the kind of people that probably aren't going to be aware that this is a thing because they hear assault rifle ban and they go, that's not going to affect me. I've got a single shot, 10 gauge shotgun, but that's not an assault rifle.
Yeah. Well, like I said, like 10 gauge it's definitely not uncommon. I mean, it's uncommon, but it's not uncommon. Like you definitely see them.
You see them.
Probably more common than 5.7.
It's not a 22. It's not a 12 gauge, but it still exists.
Yeah.
Out there.
Well, and that's one of the other things is that so apparently Blair is on record saying that there were no 22 long rifles on the list.
Oh, except for the ones that were.
Yeah, except for the ones that were like the M&P 1522 is a 22 caliber or 22 long rifle caliber AR, or like any AR can be chambered in 22 long rifle. It's pretty easy. Just put the conversion kit in there and away you go.
All my ARs are 22 caliber.
Yeah.
Aren't all of them?
I mean,
no, you can get some in 300 blackout.
They're not 22 LR, right? But
yeah, exactly.
But that's the thing, though. Like, if that's the stipulation that, oh well, if it's 22 long rifle, it doesn't matter. It's like, okay, so get me a conversion kit. I'll swap the bolt out and boom, problem solved, right?
Yeah, not so much because the receivers are all prohibited now, whatever that means.
But I mean, it's also
and the uppers. We should mention that as well.
That is a good and interesting point. I feel like they've gotten smarter since 1995. It's taken them like 25 years, but they've figured some things out. Yeah. They've made the list much more exhaustive, and they've included non-serialized components.
Yeah.
So it's only taken Wendy Sukir's crew 25 years to beat this into the liberal politicians. Liberal politicians that I'll take a moment to remind everyone that Justin Trudeau, after Polytechnic, said that they would never use orders in council to ban these kind of guns. And
well, so that registration would never lead to confiscation.
Yeah, they definitely. Well, actually, Trudeau said that.
Yeah.
No, but Trudeau said that in 96 or 97.
Yeah.
So they've gone and done the thing that they said 25 years ago they would not do. But I guess the polysuvet people have finally gotten their way and convinced them that 50 caliber sniper rifles, guns with muzzle energy of over 10,000 joules, need to be banned, and all of these other scary looking rifles that the polysuvet people wanted banned.
Yeah.
The Beretta C4X, the AR-15, the Mini 14, like these are all. This was on the polysuvet hit list for the guns they've wanted banned for the last 25 years.
Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, especially the muzzle energy thing, because, like, that's such a bizarre way to measure. Like, there's so many other calibers that are as good or better as 50 cal that are going to be under that. So, again, like, the whole thing is
non-gun
pointless.
people think 50 caliber is scary. Because it's a scary caliber, and that's what the snipers use, and that's what machine guns are chambered in, and that's like a scary so they know it because it's a thing. Like,
and at $10 a pop, it is scary. I mean, my wallet screams every time I go to the range, and there's a guy with one, and like,
But I mean, I have a car that has a displacement of like 4,822 microjoules per second per chamber, and that's just an arbitrary unit of measurement, and it's just one that's uncommon, and so it makes it difficult to measure. It makes it difficult to understand, and so it makes it's one of those things that's purposely vague that makes it harder.
Of course it is. Yeah. Of course it is, and that is exactly why it was chosen, rather than doing it in foot pounds or rather than doing it in saying 50 caliber. Well, nobody needs a rifle capable of more than 10,000 joules of energy displacement. That doesn't. What are you going to do with that? What are you hunting?
I'll give up mine.
Right? Yeah. Like, do you need? Are you going to go and hunt Tyrannosauruses with that?
Yeah.
No one needs a cottage in Quebec either.
Great fishing in Quebec, though.
Disagree.
Or 2 nannies. Or all that alcohol. Like the list goes on.
The need argument just needs to not be an argument.
Well, that's
legislating based on need is just like we should just be all able to agree that legislating based on need is dumb.
Exactly, and I've had multiple, let's call them debates on the Book of Faces over the last few days, as I'm sure several of you have.
No,
like, well, why do you need that? And it's like, fuck, dude. The speedometer on my car goes to 260 kilometers an hour. I don't fucking need that either, but I have it. And it's not a problem because my driver's license says that I can. Well, my RPAL says that I can. So,
just like when you misuse your car, it gets taken away from you.
Yeah, but short of that, we don't.
But your car is not bad and scary. I mean, I don't know what kind of car you drive, but it's not bad and scary.
Well, Gavin's got a Challenger of Peace, so his is actually
the answer is more.
Yeah, it's a Challenger of Peace in Destroyer Gray.
I'm triggered by that. It needs to not exist. You should be driving a Prius or a minivan of some kind.
Can I get that? Can I get that Prius that they put the?
Yeah, the minigun on top, like the GAU 8 minigun.
Yeah, can I get that one?
Just mention your other car, which actually is a military style vehicle.
It is. Yeah, I've got a Jeep too, which is super scary. I need to get a pencil.
It's an assault, military style assault Jeep.
Yeah, I really need to get a pencil mount on that thing. Because I guess I could still get a 1919.
Yeah.
1919 A1 is still non-restricted.
And technically not a machine gun.
Yeah. Sweet. For all you liberals out there listening, please don't ban that.
I want that is my dream gun.
Yeah. Hey Andrew, remember when we were out in New Brunswick and we got to see all those prohibited firearms?
Yeah, that was a good time. Gavin and I went to a museum that was exclusively prohibited firearms.
That was awesome.
It was a good time. We got to handle so many illegal things.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, it was totally cool because it was a museum. Yeah, obviously. Most things that are illegal are done so arbitrarily.
Yeah.
I think drunk driving is done with a specific purpose. I don't think that's terribly arbitrary. But I think the difference between...
I said most.
22 and 25 caliber revolvers is absolutely ridiculous.
I think it's all ridiculous. So Patreon people, we need your help to start our own museum.
To buy me a 1919 A1, please visit patreon.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast and give me a lot of money. Like a barrel full of money. All of the money. Cash out your kids' RRSP. They're not using it.
Chances are good they're not going to need it because by the time we get there, the feds are going to be paying for everybody's university.
Yeah.
You don't need your RSP. Give it to Andrew. It'll be great.
That's right.
Yeah.
I will turn your RESP into bang, 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 because they're limited to 5-round belts.
Unless we can get a hold of those sweet, sweet links that are made before that date.
We definitely wouldn't want to use anything that was not strictly legal.
Oh,
Yeah.
strictly legal. But again, that's even
Fabric
up to
belts are
interpretation.
totally fine though too.
Wow. Bust out the prohibited sewing machine, eh?
Yeah.
All right, let's TACOM 2020. That's supposed to be in September. I don't know. Might happen. Let's pretend like it's gonna. Use the link in the use the link in the show notes.
Yeah.
All right, let's go around. We're gonna go anti-clockwise. Marty, where can everybody find the show?
Facebook.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast.
Gavin is gonna put up links there to how to file a human rights complaint.
Yeah. I will do that. I'll take that on. Andrew and I had
I thought it was like the link to join the Conservative Party that they want.
Yeah, I'll do both of those.
Why don't we do both of them?
Yeah, yeah.
Conservative
We can
Party is
copy and paste the
conservative.ca.
entire show notes.
Yeah,
and all the
Andrew
gun
and
rights
I.
organizations.
Yeah, Andrew and I had some conversations earlier, so stay tuned for some format changes. I think it's going to be exciting times.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
On the
but yeah.
Facebook?
It seems like a two-man job.
In general, and one of those things is that we are going to try to utilize our social media platforms more. So this will be step one of utilizing social media platforms more. I will put all of the links onto the CPP Facebook page this evening, even. I'm
I'm a little disappointed you didn't run this by me first.
Well, your pigeons weren't really flying at the time.
as the social media manager, we figured you'd be okay with it.
Yeah.
It is better to beg forgiveness than ask for permission. I feel like this is apt given today's. Wow. Wow. I'm going to need you to do a gender-based analysis of this before we proceed.
Yeah, that's going to be at least 53 different analysis, Marty.
That was like 75.
You have fucking crossed the line.
Benny, where can everybody find you on the internet? One more time. Benny, where can everybody find you on the internet?
BennyLewis.ca.
There we go.
Still sell stuff that is. You can find me at BennyLewis.ca. I don't know. I think my pigeons are.
No, your
not really
pigeons are
making it all the
good.
way over
No,
to
no.
you
Yeah,
guys.
you're good.
We just have a big panel tonight, and people are stepping all over each other's audio. Plus, Marty is massively delayed.
Yeah, no step on Sneck.
Yeah, BennyLewis.ca. Yeah, we're gonna see what we have available in the coming weeks.
All right. Alan, where can people find you when you're not drunk in your garage?
You can find me on the other CPP, the Canadian Prepper Podcast, Sundays at 9. And you can find me on Instagram at PPSWO.
It's a very interesting Instagram name. Does that stand for something?
Practical Prepping, Southwestern Ontario.
So it does. Gavin, where can everybody find you on the gram?
You can find me, Urbex_GTA, just like my name says on here. Unfortunately, it sounds like, though, you won't find me in person at the charity shoot because it looks like that's been called off because of the COVIDs.
Lame. I mean, but it was also in New Brunswick, so, like, F that place, you know?
What are we really missing out on?
Sorry to the people that live in New Brunswick. I just don't want to go back.
What are we missing out on?
The lead organizer's too busy playing with cars right now anyways, so.
We would have been missing out on a shit ton of drinking, because that's what I would have been doing.
Yeah, but I mean, you can do that without having to go to New Brunswick, just for the record.
Yeah, but I like a change of scenery every now and again.
Yeah.
Especially
It's
like-
acceptable in New Brunswick.
I like getting yelled at by Trevor for drinking on his range. I'm like, In the parking lot. It's good enough.
Allegedly.
The guns are locked up. It's really not that big a deal, is it?
Well, no, but like immediately after I got scolded for allegedly drinking in the alleged parking lot, they busted out a cooler of beer from the local brewery, and it was like, I just got lectured about drinking in the parking lot.
And here we have been drinking our own beer like suckers.
That's why you got lectured on it, because you weren't drinking
free beer over there.
It's okay. I definitely made sure to give beer to Trevor's boss, so that like that set the precedent.
Yeah, he's the one that actually got caught. We didn't do anything wrong.
That's right. You can't prove it. There was no evidence.
Yeah.
Take me to a human rights tribunal, why don't you?
Yeah, I mean, not having any evidence has never stopped liberals from doing anything, right?
Yeah.
Hey. Now we're calling Trevor a liberal. Interesting.
No.
Okay.
No. I'm talking about the federal liberals, and I'm talking about evidence-based decision making. Two totally separate things.
Close enough. Dave, where can everybody find you on the internet?
You can find me on the IGs at Diesel6223, and fortunately, we can still do some precision shooting. Hopefully, whenever the bases open back up. So email me at oraprecision@gmail.com if you want to come out to my matches.
Surprise! All ORA shooting worth attending is now precision rifle.
This guy. I'm now the coolest
Do you have
guy
to wait
in
for
the
ranges to
clan.
open up?
What's that?
Like, are the military ranges closed as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
For now, yeah. Unless
All
you're in the military,
non-operational training has been suspended, so that includes civilian clubs at the bases, which is the ORA.
Okay.
I'm hopeful. There's a couple other matches at another base that he has more of an into the people at the base, than they work a lot closer with each other, and he seems to be pretty optimistic that we're going to be having a match in June. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed for Borden.
Yeah.
That is.
Fingers crossed. I'm still calling it as September, but we'll see.
Yeah.
What happens.
The person who taught me to shoot used to shoot at Borden back when it was 1,100 yards with iron sights. Could hit the targets out there.
When it was 1,100 yards, what?
It was 1,100 yards. There was a road they had to close through the base to be able to get out that far.
Oh, when they
That
shot
range
on
road.
the other side of the range road. Wow.
At Mons
he did
Range,
that with
obviously?
iron sights. Yeah, a long time ago.
Cool.
Unfortunately, he's no longer with us, so I can't shout him out. But there we go. He taught me how to shoot. And that was a good time.
Nice.
That's all right. I'm
That's
sure Barney remembers that. Barney's old enough for that.
Wow. All right. Shots fired. As always, if you've listened to the show this long, you deserve a discount code. Go to RagnarokTactical.ca. Enter the discount code Patriot at checkout. Save yourself some money. And, how can I forget? I almost forgot Rod. I have to apologize to Rod Giltaka, but not because he couldn't fit on the panel tonight.
Probably
even
really
though
tired.
even though we are 6 people and the panel is full, Rod's been working really long days because he's doing 6 a.m. Eastern time interviews. And in case you don't know, and you've never talked to Rod, he lives in BC. And the first thing Rod will tell you when you meet him is how beautiful BC is. So when he starts doing a 6 a.m. interview in Eastern Canada, it's 3 a.m. his time. And he's already been up to, like, have his coffee and get ready for his interview. So Rod couldn't stay up late and be on the show with us tonight, and for that I am deeply upset, but I understand that it is for the greater good.
Also grateful.
Yeah, we
somebody's
joke
gotta
about
do it.
Rod a lot, but he presents himself well, and he presents our cause well.
Better than I could do.
Yeah.
That's because you're not from BC.
Well, likely. For all of our listeners out there in podcast land, I would like to remind you that you were the true North, strong and free.